Hello friends, I am Aman Jindal. I have done BTech in electronics and then MBA in marketing. I have 22 years of teaching experience. My area of specialization is business statistics and operation research. I have also authored more than 20 books till date. So for the present scenario, I would be teaching you SPSS. So basics of SPSS you have already done with. So today we are going to learn how to enter the data in SPSS. Then we will talk about the compute variable function. So this is the topic which we are going to cover today. So now I would be sharing my screen with you. Just give me a moment. So I hope my screen is visible to all of you. So I hope that by now you must have installed SPSS on your laptop or desktop. So how to, whether you have installed the 16 version or 21 version or any other version, you know how to install and how to work on it. Basics of this you have already done with. So this is how you open the SPSS file in your laptop, right? So when you open the SPSS window, you can see that there are two different views which are visible to you. One is data view and second is variable view. So we are going to learn how to enter the data in SPSS, right? So first you go in the variable view window. So herein we will first enter the variable. I hope that the concept of variable is clear to you. Before this, how to measure different variable, like for classification of them, like nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. I hope that you are familiar with all these four, because that is very much important to understand the concept that how you can classify the data under this, right? When you know that, okay, your data is of this type, then only you will define in SPSS that how the different measurement will take place on that, right? So I am assuming that all these four classifications are clear to you. And in SPSS, there are three classifications, that is nominal, ordinal, and scale, right? So under scale only, we are going to cover interval and ratio. Fine. So if the concept of variable is still not clear, I will advise you to watch that video again and then come to this, right? So herein we are now talking about the variable view first. So first is we have to enter the name of the variable. This is the first character of the variable name, that should be alphabet, right? Variable name should be unique and it must not have less than 64 characters. So spaces in between are not allowed. Now say for example, if you want to name a variable like hard work, so you cannot write hard then space and then work. So space in between variable name is not allowed. So there are certain rules and regulations which you people are supposed to follow while naming the variable. So this is one rule. Second is special symbols cannot be used while naming the variable. Third is variable name cannot start with a dollar sign. Dollar sign can be used in between, but your variable name should not start with a dollar sign. Similarly, variable name cannot start with a number, but in between you can use the number, or even at the end also you can use the number, like you can write hard work 1, hard work 2. So in this way you can define your variable. So it is very important that how you are naming your variable. But then for naming the variable, you can use certain abbreviations as well, because then we will understand further that when you have to do the labeling of the variable, therein you can define in full detail that what is the meaning of that variable. Like even if say you have written HR as a variable name, then in labeling you can write that you are talking about, say, human resource department. So this is what you can do. in labeling. So in even like the another advantage of labeling is that whenever you are drawing certain graphs, so whatsoever name you have given to the variable or whatsoever explanation you have given to the variable, that would be visible to you, right? So this is the first part in variable view, wherein you have to name the variable. Second in this is when you will enter variable name, the other in the other column you will see that certain values are automatically visible to you. So by default, under type you will see that a variable is defined as a numeric variable. But if you click on this, then you will see that there are different options, like depending upon what version of SPSS you are using. Accordingly, you will see that there are more types are visible on the latest one. So herein you can see that under variable type, it is numeric, comma, dot, scientific notation, date, dollar sign, and custom currency and string are visible, right? So if we first talk about numeric variable, anything wherein we are dealing with the numbers. So if in your variable only numbers are there, you will define this as a numeric variable. Now say age of a person, height of a person. So for this, you are going to use only numbers, right? Then comma in between can be used, then dots can be used, certain scientific notation wherein so you are going to use certain scientific notation, therein you are going to use this type. And date, if you are going to enter the data like date of birth, right, date of joining for employee data, etc. So then you are going to use the type as date. Dollar, if you are going to define your currency in dollar, then you are going to use this. Then custom currency, if say you are going to present your data in the local currency, then you are going to use this particular option. String variable, if your variable is alphanumeric, like sometimes you can see that employee ID, they are written as such, maybe your surname is written and then the employee code is written, or maybe the department is written, then the code is used. Like if I say HR 001, HR 002, so we are using both alphabet as well as numbers. So if this kind of scenario is there, then you are going to define your variable as string variable. So this is second part wherein you define the type of the variable. So in the third part, you are going to define the width. So width will allow you to determine the number of characters SPSS will allow to be entered for the variable, right? So although later on you will see that width can be changed manually also, like by using the cursor, you can change the width. Otherwise, herein you can define also that this would be the width of the column which you are going to use, right? Next, we move to decimal. So up to what decimal place you want to obtain the data, right? So it has to be less than or equal to 16. More than that is not advisable. Normally, by default, if you will see that 2 will appear over here. So like it would be 3.14 or 3.25, something like that. Like if you are using say rupee and paisa, something like this, then it may be written like 18.96. So something like this, the data would be displayed. But if your data is such wherein you don't require any decimal, then you will put the option 0 over here, right? So by moving your cursor, you can increase or decrease the number of decimal places up to which you want to obtain your data. So that is another option which is available over here. So next is the labeling, which I have already explained to you. So in labeling, basically you are going to define, or rather I would say explain your variable. And this is going to help you in graphs also, wherein the explanation of the variable which you have given, that would be visible to you. So variable label is going to define the variable which you have, maybe you have used certain abbreviations for that, right? So next in this is values. This is also very important. So in values, basically we say that you are going to do coding of your data, right? Like if say you are defining gender, wherein you are writing male and female, right? So herein in values, you can assign 1 for male and 2 for female. So in this way, you can define the numbers, right? So it is not so that only 2 numbers you can use n numbers of for data to numbers to represent your data. Like if I say a religion, you have to define, you can use say 1 for Hindu, 2 for Sikh, 3 for Muslim, or any other number, 100, 200, 300, anything you can be used. But why it is required for analysis, if you have to count the frequency, then this all become very easy. So that is why we are assigning certain values to the given data if there are 2 or more than 2 options in our data. Like gender I have explained, religion I have explained. Then another example may be the number of political parties in India, right? So you may assign 1 to Congress, 2 to AAP, 3 to BJP, or any other number you can assign. Basically, when we are assigning these numbers, it doesn't show that we are giving priority to any data. This is just for the calculation part, right? Say for example, if in a class I want to count that how many male and female candidates are there. To male I have assigned 1, to female I have assigned 2. Then when I will go in for descriptive analysis of the data, wherein I will just count the frequency, that will let me know that how many male and female are there. So it will count that how many times we have entered 1 and how many times we have entered 2, right? So this is how this particular value column is of high importance in SPSS. Next is after defining the value, so here is a practice question for you. Like this is the data which is given, like name, gender, and height. So 3 variables we have used: name, gender, and height. So in name, only alphabets we have used. In gender, we have assigned values to the given data. Like you can see, 1 represent male and 2 represent female. And for the height, we have again used numbers like 5.4, 5.3, 5.6. Now you have to enter this data in SPSS. So I will take a pause over here. You try to enter data on your own. If you are able to do it, then it is good. Otherwise, you can just see that how it is to be done. We have entered 3 variables, that is name, gender, and height. So herein you can see that we have defined name as a string variable and gender and height as a numeric variable. Different widths we have taken up, 7 and 9, right? And then decimal places, you can see for name and gender, we are saying it is 0, 0. And for height, we have used 1 decimal place, because in the question you can see the height is written like 5.4, 5.3. So it is up to 1 decimal place, right? So then in labeling herein, you can see we have mentioned against name, it is name of the student. Against gender, we have written gender of the student. And for height, we have mentioned height of the student. And value, we are assigning only in the gender column, wherein we have written 1 for male and 2 for female, right? So when you will click on the value column, the second window, which you can see over here at the bottom side, this would appear. Therein you will enter the data like 1, and in labeling you will write at male, then you will click on add. Similarly, then you will write 2, and in labeling you will write it female, then you will write add, and then you will click on OK. So this is how you can assign value to the given data, right? So herein you can see in the data view, this we have done in variable view. In data view, you are going to enter the data. So name, then gender, and then height of the student. So this is how you enter the data in SPSS, right? So if you have to save it, then generally you have to define it like SPSS extension is .sav. So through this, you are going to save your sample file. Any name you can give, but the extension you need to remember is .sav file, right? So next is if you have to sort your data. If you have to sort, then what you will do, you will go to data, and therein you will click on sort cases. And in sort cases, when you click on this, you can see further there are these 3 variables visible to you, which you have made. So here you can, here the labels are visible. You can, if you click on them, you can see the name of the variable as well. So how you have to sort the data? If it is on the basis of the name of the student, then you will click on the name of the student, and then you will take it to the right hand side. In the second this window you can see, right? So when you will click on OK, then the data would be sorted according to the name of the student. Herein you can see it is like B, and then D, then E. In this order it has been sorted. So now you can practice for the sort cases as well. Herein, is it possible that from the given data you can arrange it in descending or ascending order according to the height of the student? So you can practice this. Again, process is same. You will go to this data and then sort cases, and then you will select the height of the student. So then you will take it to the right, and then you will click on OK. So the data would be arranged according to the height of the student. So this was about the how to enter the data in SPSS. So some basic problem we have done. Next we move to compute variable. So compute variable is one which we are commonly going to use for arithmetic operations in SPSS. So this particular option is available in transform menu. In transform, you click on compute variable, and then this kind of window will be visible to you. So herein you have to define your target variable, which variable you want to change. Generally, we want to preserve our old data. So that's why we all the time we are creating a new variable. So in target variable, you are define a new variable from type and label. You can define what would be its type, and if some labeling need to be done, that can also be done over here. Then whatsoever numerical expression you are going to use for the defining this new variable, that can also be done over here on the right hand side. So herein you can see in the function group, all different functions are available, like arithmetic, then CDF, then conversion, right? So most commonly we are going to use arithmetic operations in SPSS. So in arithmetic operations, you can see here in like ABS, wherein it is going to give you the absolute value of the function, then cos, exponential, logarithmic functions, modulus, right? So these all arithmetic functions are available, which we are commonly going to use. So herein, like in a calculator, you can see less than, greater than, right? Plus, minus, multiplication, all different sort of operations are available, right? So why do we use compute? Like if you have to do some arithmetic calculations, right? Like if you want, like in case of employee data, which we will later on see how we can access the samples from SPSS, and we can do all different operations on them. So if you want to say compute the salary of only those people who are drawing more than 10,000 per annum, right? So accordingly, the calculations would be done from this. Or if any other functions, like whether the person belong to minority group, or according to educational qualification of the person. So if you want to do different sort of mathematical operations, or arithmetic operations rather, I would say, we are going to use compute variable. And in that, normally you are going to create a new variable. Why? As I have told you, that we want to create a new variable, and we want to preserve the old data. So old data should not be lost. So that is the purpose, right? So herein you can see, so this is a practice question for you. So the data is there before you, height we have entered. So if you want to find out the square root of height column, so that again you can use from here square root of height. This is the new target variable which we have entered. And herein you can see we have used the operations sqrt height in the numeric expression. So this is how, by creating a new variable in the data view, you can see when you click in OK over here in the data view, you will be able to see that we have obtained the new data, right? So this is how we can use compute variable function in SPSS. So I hope that now you have understood, one, how to enter the data, how to define different variables, and how to use compute variable function in SPSS. Thank you.